What's up, guys? I'm Sheldon.
And I'm Griffin.
And we're 20XY.
And today we're going to follow up on a video we did last month about seeking challenge, where we have more of a free-form discussion and share one of our own personal stories about a time that we've sought challenge and share some of the lessons that we've learned from it.
Let's get started.
So to kind of start my story, I want to give a little bit of a background. I grew up playing competitive sports. I was a swimmer, a runner. So I kind of grew up in a competitive mindset, but I also played Super Smash Bros. From the N64 version and every title forward. So you had Melee, you had Brawl, you had Smash 4 for the Wii U and the 3DS, and now finally Smash Bros. Ultimate.
You've seen it all, right?
I've seen it all. But I will say, I was never competitive. I never played in a Super Smash Bros. Tournament until I got to college.
They just played for fun.
Right. Just play for fun, but of course, when you play the game, you want to beat all your friends, and so I'd always try to beat my friends and be the best.
So it becomes competitive.
Right, it becomes competitive, but never would I have imagined that there's actually an entire tournament scene and infrastructure around it until I, again, got to college. It was 2014, and I think Smash Bros. For the Nintendo Wii U and 3DS had just come out, and we had these projectors in one of the halls, and I walked by and there were a bunch of my friends in there actually playing on a projector screen, and I was like, yo, that's Super Smash Bros. I haven't seen that in forever. Anyway, they had some extra controllers, so I jumped in, and it quickly got competitive because it was apparent that everybody else in the room was also probably the best of their friend group growing up. We had so much fun just trying to beat each other, and we were like, all right, all items off, stages with no hazards. We want like as few variables as possible to try to figure out who's the most skilled at this game. Anyway, it was a lot of fun, and yeah, we just played in small groups really, until one day there was a club on campus, and they said, we're gonna host a Super Smash Bros. Tournament. We go over there, and we get smoked.
Of course.
Yeah, because I mean we know how to beat each other, but we don't know how to really play the game competitively. But it was really kind of eye opening. There were way more people at that tournament than existed within our little projector room playing Smash Bros. From there, I was like, man, there's really a lot of interest in this in a competitive scene. Taking that into mind, this became an outlet for a lot of those friends who played growing up and maybe even came from competitive sport backgrounds to focus their competitive energy into not only Smash Bros, but some entryway into broader esports as a whole. So the challenge that I then had, or the challenge that I then sought, was creating a community around this and really kind of putting together some place or something that everybody who was at that tournament and all of their friends could come and play Super Smash Bros. Competitively. So that's what I sought to do the next year. We started a club, we started a club with me and a couple of my closest friends. I took the initiative as president, just simply because I felt like I was the most well-connected and prepared to do something like this. And I would say that really, it was more that I believed it could be something beneficial and something fun that people would enjoy and want to come spend time with. And yeah, we put it together. We said, let's start a student club. We made Smash Dogs at MSU, and it started with maybe like 15 people in it. And that first year, we were just trying to get our foot on the ground. So the challenging thing was that you start a club, you have these big ambitions, you have this big vision, you got to do all the work.
Right. You quickly realized that it's not easy.
Yes, you can't just say, hey, we have a Smash Bros. Club and the people are going to show up.
Right.
And you can't just say, hey, we're going to have a Smash Bros. Tournament and people are going to show up. You got to do the work. You got to really make the network. You got to understand why people want to be there, or if they don't want to be there, why don't they want to be there, so that they feel comfortable in that environment. And that's supplemental to the fact that oftentimes we wouldn't even have enough setups or enough consoles and TVs for people to play on. So it just seemed to be problem after problem after problem compounding on itself. But at the end of the day, it was something that I believed in, and I could see that everyone that was a part of the club and was patient enough really wanted to be there as well, because it was something, it was it started to look like a community, if that makes sense.
Right.
Starting out year one, we made it our goal to go to as many different Smash Bros. Clubs as we could find in the region, which after starting Smash Dogs, we realized, oh, there's actually quite a few of these. So we went there, we made connections. At the end of year one, we hosted my college's very first regional Smash Bros. Tournament,
Nice.
which was huge. I don't know if I quite remember the date, but it was around April sometime. We had 60 participants show up for our very first tournament ever from all over the state.
Which is really cool, actually.
Yeah, it was really, really cool because it was like all of that hard work that we'd put in at the beginning to, seek the challenge of making this a successful endeavor had ultimately paid off.
Right.
We had gone from a standing start and nothing at the beginning of the year to, oh, hey, this school has a regional presence that exists now, and we gained some notoriety and some prestige because of that. And kind of evolving onto that, there's years 2 and years 3. I believe I served as president for 3 years before I graduated. Year 2 was another building year. Some really interesting things happened, but slowly and surely, what we saw was that other people started to seek challenge as a result of feeling comfortable in this environment, in this place, the Smash Bros. Community.
It's like other members of the club?
Yes. So where initially the challenge that I saw was to, create something that had never been done before, to bring forth a community that needed a place to thrive. Others in the club said, hey, this is something that we now care about, and we want to challenge ourselves to use our own gifts, our own talents, to make this a better place. So it was really cool. Year 2, we started having a lot more people step up and ask for leadership responsibilities and ask for things that they could do to, iron out some of the kinks that we were still working out as a year 2 club that was still barely getting its feet off the ground. And that was really exciting to see. So kind of carrying that forward into the final year, which is where I really think things took off, and where this idea of sticking to something that you believe in and not being afraid of challenging yourself really started to pay off. Where we ramped up our production value. We got people that wanted to do graphic. They were artistic. Okay. They wanted to do production. They wanted to do equipment management. They wanted to do registration and administrative things. And so really we had this community of people focused on one thing, and that was hosting great events.
And bettering that one thing.
Yes, really. Yes, having great events, having great meetings, and having an awesome atmosphere. And everybody was, challenging themselves in their own right, simply because there were a few of us that challenged ourselves to stick with this community for a long time. So, point being, we went from something that was 15 people up to something that was upwards of 60 members.
Right.
It's really kind of the same environment. If you're good at something and you like it, it's a lot easier to get better at that thing doing something you enjoy.
Right.
And I think, for a lot of people, that outlet was Super Smash Bros. Right. Competitive Super Smash Bros. I don't play the game so much competitively anymore. Just I don't have that. Obviously, because of 2020, I don't have as much access to it. But I still keep my skills sharp. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty nice at it.
Not gonna brag, but
yeah,
nice.
Definitely don't main Samus or Falco. Yeah, I guess that would be my takeaway is what I learned from this and what I learned from that specific instance of challenges. It is much easier to cultivate your skills doing something you enjoy than it is to learn how to enjoy something.
Right.
If you're kind of thrust into something that you don't really care about, you don't really passionate about, you don't really enjoy, it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to kind of really learn life skills.
And keep doing that. And enjoy doing that, really.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of going back to some of these folks that stepped up and wanted to become leaders and take on more responsibility, admittedly, they were pretty awkward at first just because they hadn't socialized very much.
Yeah, these are college kids.
Yeah, these are college kids. And by year 2, year 3, they were really coming out of their shell. They were becoming very interesting, well-spoken people.
Nice.
Leaders, people that you wouldn't have otherwise expected to really kind of come into their own.
Right.
But
so really, if you think about it, you kind of did that for them. You opened them up and helped them become who they are.
Looking back, yes, but at the time that I started it, it really wasn't about that. It's just what it became because there were a few of us that really believed in something, And
That's how all great things start, honestly.
yeah, exactly. Like we really saw a need, and I felt that I was the most prepared and at least at the time passionate about making sure that it was successful. Of course, I couldn't have done it without everybody else, but
Right.
it just so happened that that's what it grew into. But of course, because of the effort that everybody contributed to making it successful. And I'll also say it really set in motion the idea that entrepreneurship could be a very rewarding life path or thing that I pursue eventually, because some of the skills that I learned simply starting a student club translate so well to, say, starting a YouTube channel or
Look at that.
yeah, or starting a business. These things like that you learn as a leader, as an organizer, as a facilitator, really translate well over to both your professional and your personal lives, which is, something that I hope to highlight through 20XY is that you can develop confidence, become independent, and be a great leader, all by doing something that you enjoy.
So I guess I'll start my story with a little bit of background too. I grew up actually playing paintball my entire childhood, which is a really random thing, but really fun.
Yeah.
So I played it all through middle school and high school, and then once high school ended, everyone kind of went their separate ways and I stopped playing. And then once I got to college, I kind of wanted to start playing again, but I didn't really know anyone and there was no one around to play with. I started looking up like if there was a paintball club, if there was just a group of people that played, and I couldn't find anything. So I actually went to the school club board and just asked like, hey, would it be possible to start a paintball club?
Yeah.
And actually, at first, they just downright said no. Because, they're like, no, this is a school. You can't play paintball.
Yeah, so it sounds like the challenge is that there was something you wanted to do, and it just simply didn't exist, and somebody wouldn't let you do it.
They wouldn't even let me attempt to do it. That actually lasted for about 2 months, just them saying no. But I went on my own and just kept researching everything and looking at other schools that actually had paintball clubs. And so I'd message their president, like the paintball president. I'd message actually the president of the school and ask like, hey, why are you okay with this? Like, does this benefit your school? And can you explain to me how and walk me through the whole program? And so they actually helped me get it to the point where eventually the club people at my school said, fine, we'll let you do that. So I was like, yes, finally.
So persistent.
Yes, be persistent. They said, yes, you can start a paintball club, but you have to have at least 3 people. And that's when I was like, well, darn.
Time to recruit.
Yeah, and so I went around and literally asked everybody. All of my friends, all random people, I had no clue. I probably asked like 300 people. And out of all that, I finally got 3 people.
Nice.
Well, other people were like, oh yeah, paintball is cool. Like, do you want to be in the club? No.
Top 1% of people,
Yeah.
man.
So I eventually found there's 3 people. So then I got to work of like making the club, making an actual thing, like bringing up a constitution and all that. So we made an official club at the school. But then they're like, okay, you're a club now, but you're not going to get funding or like you're not allowed to do anything really.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, well, what do I have to do that? So they said you have to become a club sport, which is like not just a club. It's like
they're really throwing the hurdles in front of you.
They're making it really hard for me to do anything. So
persistence.
That's the moral of the story. So I talked to the club sport people, and again, they said no. And said, that's crazy. Why would we ever do that? I actually got really lucky in this. The old director of club sports actually just like left for some reason, and a new lady came in. And she thought paintball was the coolest thing ever. So she said yes. And it was the coolest thing because they pretty much shoved me down. And then this new lady came in and just said yes. And said, let's do it. There were a lot of people angry at me because you can only have like, I think 15 club sports. I think one club sport dropped off the list. I think it was actually like the cricket club or something because they were drinking on campus. Cricket, they party hard.
Rip cricket.
She put me in when there's actually like a 30 club waiting list, but she put me to the top, so a lot of people were angry.
Oh no.
But it was super cool for me, so I just lucked out. So I got in with club sports, but then it became even harder, because it's not just a small like social gathering club, it's actually a legal thing.
Yeah.
So I had to write contracts, I had to write the Constitution, I had like contracts between the paintball field, the school, literally everything.
Yeah, and not quite to that degree, but for Smash Dogs, I had to do something similar to draft constitutions, articles of formation. It's very much like a
it's
process.
Like starting an actual business.
Yeah, you have to.
It's actually where I learned it all.
Yeah, right. This is the thing. You have to do the work. But the work isn't so bad when you enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah.
But so basically I did all that myself, which that took like 2 years actually
Oh man.
to do all of that. And then we eventually were like, okay, the school is going to give you funding, which was super cool because they actually paid for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So they bought us paint, they paid for like entry fees. They wouldn't buy us the paintball markers or the guns, but obviously it's a school.
It's expensive.
Yeah. So then just me and these two other friends started going and just playing in this local field, just like having fun playing. And then we eventually got some of our friends to come play. And so it turned into Tapestry, there were like 10 to 15 people there.
Okay.
Which all of a sudden was like, oh, well, this is cool. Then we all of a sudden decided to become like a tournament team. Because a little known fact, paintball is actually a really big college sport.
Really?
Yeah. So
Sounds like you just keep at. It seems like not only are you adding layers of challenge to yourself, but it's like every time you add a layer, someone else, there's another barrier to entry, there's another hurdle. Yeah.
Well, it's also hard getting into the tournament because there's some really good schools out there.
Yeah.
And also, college paintball is different from like other college sports, meaning that pros are allowed to play on the teams.
Oh my goodness.
So sometimes you'll have these people that have never played playing against like a team of like 4 pros. So then we just decided we had, I think like 7 people that were just dedicated. So we decided to actually go to a tournament, which was cool because the school actually paid for us to like take a trip all the way to New Jersey and like all over to play these tournaments. So we got jerseys, we got everything made. By this point, we were already playing for like a year together. So we were actually getting really good, like practicing and everything. And so the first tournament we went to, we were like kind of nervous because we didn't know what to expect.
Of course.
And we actually didn't do bad. We kind of got shit on, but we won some.
You want some?
We lost to some pros, but obviously.
No big deal.
No, but we learned a lot. These people are actually still some of my best friends to this day, and we still talk.
You guys went to a tournament and lost. I think that's kind of that's at least something that sticks out to me and kind of something I want to like double click on.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, these stories that we're telling you guys, these are, you know, the ones that stick out the most, or these are the ones that we feel like have a lot of learning lessons. But this doesn't mean that, you know, we haven't had previous experiences or haven't had recent experiences where, you know, we failed. But in every time you fail, every time like you aren't able to overcome a challenge, you learn something. Like,
Yeah.
Sheldon has all these hurdles in the way.
Literally everybody's saying no to me,
Yeah.
but it was just the persistence of I wanted this to happen. So I kept pushing it and did everything I could for 2 years. And eventually I found someone to say yes.
Yeah. And
So,
fortunately, I did not run into that much resistance doing
Right.
Smash Dogs. But yeah, it was by the end of it, I was really proud of what I had accomplished and what it had become.
right.
You know, going from 15 to like 60 people and hosting one of the largest regional events in Mississippi ever.
Right.
Yeah. And so like, you know, that's something that I could walk away from and be like, man,
You did
that was
that.
awesome. And I learned a lot from it. What are some things that, you know, you take away from that experience, or what are some things that you learned that have like helped
Right.
you know, take on bigger challenges or take on more challenges, more responsibilities
Right.
in the future?
So I learned just a lot from that. And first I'll just start off kind of like you were saying. I'm so incredibly proud of like the paintball team. Because looking at it was nothing a couple years ago. So now going to something like the club fair and looking at the club sports section and paintball's on there.
Yeah.
That makes me just so proud. Like makes me cry a little bit.
Right.
Basically, kind of like you having to do everything by myself. I did have some help from just the 3 people that I started with. I really learned how to be a leader. I learned how to start something. I learned how to be persistent.
Yeah.
I learned how to obviously like write up contracts, constitutions. I learned how to like manage my time because, as I'm sure you know, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And especially
Yeah.
when you're in college, you already don't have time. So-
Right. And it's very easy to get distracted in college as well. I mean, you're there for an education first and whatever else second, but it's tough to separate the idea that what you're doing and you feel meaningful isn't in some way an education.
Right.
Because that's an experience that you or I would have never otherwise had
Just
we
going
not.
to class, you're not going to learn all of those relevant skills.
Yeah, and one thing I want to kind of underscore as well is in respect of leadership is when you take on that kind of responsibility and you find yourself in that situation, you very quickly learn what you're good at and you learn what you're not so good at. So that gives you the opportunity to, you know, really lean into your competencies, but also to say, you know, I really need to practice something, or like you cultivate a skill a bit more so that I can become more proficient in it. Or better yet, if you're in a community, if you have people around you, like finding out what they're good at. Maybe operations and like administration isn't necessarily something that I'm strongly suited toward, but more kind of like the big picture and like communication and working with people and having big ideas is more my wheelhouse. Then I want to make sure that I'm working with people that are going to offset my weaknesses and that we work together as a team, that we have the same vision, and that the challenge that we're both facing is something that we can all overcome.
And it's something that you all want. So you all have the same goal.
Yes.
You're just coming at it from different angles, kind of.
Yes. And to kind of emphasize as well, challenges can be fun. A challenge isn't a problem, and a challenge isn't something that's, that's right in front of you that you have to, that's going to hurt you. A challenge could simply be, there's this club, this thing, this something that doesn't exist that I want to exist, and I have the ability and the resources to make it happen, and I'm passionate about doing that. Like that could be in itself a challenge. And again, hopefully our stories have kind of shown you that challenge can come in all different shapes and sizes, and it can be different for anyone, and you can have different takeaways from similar situations. But in all of this, we simply want to demonstrate that the process of building confidence, becoming independent, and being a great leader can be enjoyable, and challenges can be something positive.
And we both took what we learned from starting both of our clubs, and we're here now doing this. This was actually a big challenge. This is a lot of work, and it takes a lot of effort to do all of this. But the thing is, we both really enjoy doing this, just to put this out here for you guys. And we love talking about this, we love making these videos, we love posing for pictures.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything.
And the idea here is not to present ourselves as some sort of authoritarian figure, some sort of authority, so to speak, but really to inspire you to make lifestyle changes that are going to allow you to grow in both your professional and personal lives.
We're here to help you, and we want you to succeed in all aspects of your lives. And any way we can help with that, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, and ultimately, success can and should look different for each and every one of you.
We just kind of shared our stories about times we've seeked challenge and what we've learned from it.
And, in the comment section below, feel free to share a summary of your own personal story, some things that you've learned, sometimes that you've challenged yourselves, and the lessons that you've taken away from it. I would love to hear and read and respond as we're able.
Make sure to like and subscribe and follow us on Instagram for more stories like this.
And until next time, we've been 20XY, Finding Modern Manliness. I'm Griffin.
I'm Sheldon.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.